Hello and welcome. Today we will discuss strategies to staying healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our presenters this afternoon are Washington Hospital's Director of Food and Nutrition Clinical Services, Kimberlee Alvari, and Catering Manager, Alfredo Macias. Without further ado, please welcome Kimberlee Alvari and Alfredo Macias.
Hello, I'm Kimberlee Alvari, and I am the Director of Food and Nutrition and Clinical Services. And I'm joined here today with Alfredo Macias, our Catering Manager. And while we usually work right alongside, we're experiencing some challenge now with COVID-19, and so the physical distancing is going to be just about how close we get to each other today for this presentation. As well as the physical 6-foot distancing, we'll also be wearing these protective masks as well. The shelter in place has really been a public measure to help slow the spread of the virus for people. And while I was going to spend a few minutes describing what shelter in place was, I think we're probably all experts by now, but it really has changed things for us. There's telecommuting, there's virtual classrooms going on, as well as just changing the way that you go grocery shopping as well, Alfredo, and planning those meals and those snacks. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so as well as that, it's just shifting perspectives and priorities and really an unexpected pause that people are experiencing. So they're having time to reflect on how they do things, how they exercise. I mean, I know my neighborhood is full of people running that I've never seen run before, but they're out there doing it. I know people getting more sleep. We've had more sleep, right,
Absolutely.
Alfredo?
Yes.
We're enjoying that as well. And last but not least, it's changing the way that we procure, the way that we get those essential things that we need to bring into our home, including groceries, the meal planning, and the snacks that we provide for. So how has that grocery shopping changed, Alfredo?
Well, think of fewer trips. Before, with the shelter in place we have now, that's really what it means, what you just said, stay home more. So it really has minimized the time the amount of trips you make to the grocery store. Before COVID-19, the frequency, it was about 2.5 times a week for anybody to go grocery shopping, but now it's going down to one only.
One trip a week. Does everybody go at the same time since they have time, or is there, times more people are going than others?
No, actually, research says that about 40% of the people would just go earlier to do their grocery shopping, and only about 17% will go in the evening. But one interesting fact, though, is that also it shows, the same study shows that they spend about 15% more in their grocery bill. Why is that? What do you think is on their cart?
Well, it makes sense to me. I think people staying home are probably going to need more food while they're sheltering in place, but also that same research, market research that was done recently, also showed that 1 out of every 2 people said that they've changed the way that they're eating right now, and that change means a 50% increase in processed and packaged items at the grocery store, as well as a 36% reduction in fresh produce, or any kind of produce actually, for people. So I think we've just stumbled on another challenge here during this period of time, which is, how do you get to the grocery store one time and still get the healthy things in that basket that you need, when you're preparing your meals and that.
Right.
So what are your suggestions for trying to get ready for that one trip?
Well, I suggest that first you take inventory. Start at home. Look at your pantry, your refrigerator, freezer, and so on. Most times you find that you have a lot of items already that you don't need to buy, but just you don't know they're there. We'll also visualize your weekly menu. Plan for about a week's menu, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And consider things like what your family likes, the flavors they're accustomed to provide comfort during this time. Also consider the time and effort you're going to be spending preparing those meals. Of course, your level of skill, and also try to find any more healthy options or healthy recipes. Think about probably buying staple foods like dry beans, pastas, that type of thing. Buy enough for maybe 4 weeks, so you don't have to go on the next trip to the store. It's not going to be as long anymore. You're not going to spend much time there.
Well, I like what you're talking about in terms of the healthy recipes, because we're talking about setting ourselves up for success, right? And kind of flipping that grocery cart that needs to be flipped here. In terms of the trips in there. But when we're talking about, cooking at home, maybe there's some first-time cooks that feel like they might be the best next contestant on America's Worst Cook. So you'd have a couple quick tips for those people who maybe been doing this for the first time?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I guess stay calm. Keep it simple. Find recipes that are like 5 ingredients or fewer. Try to play with those same ingredients in a couple different ways. And just read the entire recipe. When you're doing a recipe for the first time, it's really important that you read all the instructions and understand it. If there's any words that you don't understand, or any because of the terminology, or even the type of item or ingredient that you don't know, which I don't recommend, you should play with ingredients that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
But just Google it. I mean, just go online and find out what it is. You probably find that it's something pretty simple.
I think that Googling works for everything, right?
Right.
I also like the idea that the first time you step in the kitchen, you don't have to expect yourself to be Martha Stewart, right? Don't have to expect too much. Do what you can. So let's say you want to make a vegetable fresh quiche, and you're kind of intimidated by making a home pie crust. So you can buy it. You can get a whole wheat pie crust. Do make the part that you can make, and then don't sweat the rest. So semi-homemade is just as good sometimes to get some healthy meals in the oven where you feel comfortable. So we know about, some of the ideas in terms of, tips for cooking and all that kind of thing, but you're actually getting ready to go out to the grocery store now. What kinds of things do you think people should be considering around that trip?
Well, what has become very popular now is actually grocery delivery. There's a number of grocery stores in different areas that they deliver the groceries to you over a third party. So that would be an option. Also, some of the grocery stores have a curbside pickup. You can always place your order online, or call and just stop by. You don't really need to go into the store. But also recommend too, if you have family members or neighbors where you can share that with. Let's say you just went to the store and come back and forgot something. Don't just make another trip to the store. Maybe your neighbor next door is going to the store tomorrow, and then you can just always ask them for that, and then I'll save you another trip there.
Yeah, I like that idea. It really sounds like you're having a hybrid approach to the shopping. It's some virtual shopping as well as some conventional shopping. So when we start to get ready to do that conventional shopping and make it into the store, what I suggest people know is know the layout of the grocery store. I know people are kind of testing out, maybe jumping to different grocery stores a little bit right now just because of the amount of products that there or whatever's going on. And so you can go online and sometimes get the layout of the store. It's one you're not familiar with. But if it's one you're familiar with when you get there, I want to kind of set your mind about healthy shopping pre-COVID and right now. You really want to work the outside perimeter of the grocery store first. That's where you're going to find all the healthy items that
Correct.
go in that grocery cart. So kind of like to go through there and then get yourself through the middle. So I know it's going to be challenging. There's a lot of arrows on the floor, and sometimes, I find myself, jumping arrows or finding myself on the wrong aisle and having to flip myself around. But if you can forge your way to the outside and get around, I think that's where you really want to start. In my grocery store, Alfredo, we start at the bread section. So in the bread section, I'm going to get my bread. I'm going to get English muffins. I'm going to get probably corn tortillas, regular tortillas in that section. I might even get some, the wraps that I can use as well. So in that section, I also want to make sure that what I'm picking is really a whole grain, that some of that is a whole grain option. And when I know it's a whole grain, the first ingredient on that label is going to read whole. So it's going to be whole wheat. So you've got a whole grain product because you really want to try to increase your whole grains in your diet. So give me one idea of something you could do with one of those whole grains, Alfredo, since you're the chef.
Well, you can do different things, but when it comes to mind, pretty quick and simple. Utilizing tortilla, I use it for a breakfast wrap in the morning with scrambled eggs or meat, cheese, things like that. But the same tortilla, you can use it for a lunch with a little bit of tuna or turkey or something like that. Also think about something different. How about a bagel? Make a little pizza
yeah.
with the bagel.
Yeah,
a little
you
bit
can
of
do that.
tomato sauce and a little bit of cheese on top. I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy that, and it's really, really simple.
Yeah, you're going to get the bagels in that aisle, and you want to make sure that the bagel is like a toaster size. If you're going with the bigger bagel, you just half size of that bagel is a portion. Maybe it makes the good pizza. But I like that idea a
always.
lot. So as we're moving around the store, usually I hit my dairy products and some of the eggs section on that outside area. So we're going to be talking about buying your milk. You're going to be buying yogurt, cottage cheese, maybe string cheese somewhere around in those outside areas, depending if they have them separated. And then, of course, your eggs in the carton. You can also get pre-shelled eggs. They actually come in a pre-shelled package and carton that are liquid, and you can use about a quarter of an egg in your baking or just to scramble up for that wrap that you were talking about in the morning, and that makes it really convenient. It also, you can take those liquid eggs, you could freeze them and pull them out and use them when you need them. So it really makes staying at home a little bit easier for people. So what are some things what's one thing you could do with some of those dairy products as well?
Well, very popular. You can use the milk, or your milk of choice to create or make some smoothies. They're actually really good. You can put some frozen berries or any type of fruit that you like. But also you can use spinach or kale, and that makes it a little more healthier. Or can have your family some vegetables, and they may not know they're eating vegetables.
I like that you just said eat vegetables, because we know we're trying to increase that. So that's a great suggestion for people here today. So the other thing I think you might think about is that we think of the traditional dairy products, but you've got a lot of alternative dairy products that are kind of in that section. So if you're somebody for soy milk, or maybe you just want to try it, it's a good time to try something new. There's soy milk, there's also oat milks, and there's nut milks. And those nut milks and those soy milks, often they can go onto cereals and things like that, maybe lighten your coffee, whereas the oat milk, same thing, goes good in coffee, but it also serves as a good product to bake with because it's a little bit richer consistency for people. So we want to think about those alternative products that are out there as well that we might not traditionally think of at this
Right.
time. So as we go around that perimeter there, and I'm going to bump into the fresh meats. The fresh meats are going to be, of course, the things that you're talking about, you're going to have on your menu closest loaded on the beginning of the week because they're fresh. If you buy any meats, maybe they're on sale because we heard about the 15% increase in price, and so we want to kind of keep that down. So maybe you buy some and you freeze them up. But what kind of cuts of meats are you going to be looking for?
Well, you want to stay with choice and select. Those are the ones that you really want to buy.
The choice and select and 93% ground beef, and then also, of course, you're going to get your chicken and poultry and ground levels of that in there.
Correct.
So last stop, we're going to hit the produce, and when we hit the produce, this is where we want to really focus. I know that fresh produce and produce consumption has been down, but what are some of the hardier produce that people can buy? Maybe 5 or 6 ideas you can come up with, Alfredo, for
some
them.
of them you can last for a lot longer than in a regular produce would be, like potatoes, onions, all your citrus, orange, apples, even broccoli.
Yeah, those are the hardier ones, and then if they're not as hardy or the integrity of them, you can get those, use them again on the front end of your menu. Also, maybe wash some of that produce. It's coming up to summer, so you're going to get some great stone fruit and fresh berries. If you're not ready to eat them or they start to turn while you're at home, go ahead, wash them off and throw them in the freezer as well, and that'll save you time. So I think we've hit that outside area of the grocery store. We go through the middle. Let's talk quickly about some of the things that are more healthy through the center of the store, because that's usually where you find the things that are sometimes not as healthy. So, in terms of canned meats, what do you suggest?
Well, but more popular probably would be like tuna, any type of fish or chicken. You can buy that can and you can preserve it, just throw it in your pantry. You have it available whenever you need that.
I think that's a great idea. So lower sodium in those canned products as well as packed in water if you're talking tuna. So we're also going to pick up frozen produce in here that we want to have the vegetables have less salt or gravies or seasonings on them. Just get the produce itself, either the fruit or the vegetable. And in terms of some of the staples that you'll get through here, the grains, what else, can you put in your cupboard for a while?
Yeah, pasta, flour, grains, cereals, that type of thing that will last for a long time.
Yeah, I think we've cut through there, and I think one of the things I want to talk about when we talk about adding the more produce to people's diets is that I think this time we talked about challenging some of our perspectives, and I think it's a time where we've been challenged with thinking about produce. I think the front seat was always the fresh produce, which is true, because it's in season and it tastes great, and we like that, but we also know we can get good benefit from the produce that come in the cans if we rinse them, if they've got a higher sodium content, or buy them actually with a lower sodium sodium content, which is about 5% of the daily value per serving if you want a lower sodium canned vegetable or maybe even a canned bean product. So I think that's really shifted our thinking about, fresh, frozen, and actually those canned products. So really talked healthy, but that's not all we eat during the day. We eat snacks, and idle time makes for busy hands. What kind of snacks do you have to suggest, Alfredo?
Well, since everybody loves snacking and it's a very important activity of the day now, we want to, like as you said, I mentioned earlier, we wanted to stay healthy and we want to look at healthier options. We can have some different types of nuts. You can make your own trail mix, but also vegetables. We always heard about the the carrots and the celery with some type of a dip or even sliced apples. They're actually really good for snacking. You can actually dip it into peanut butter, or you can make some your favorite dipping with a Greek yogurt, I was mentioned earlier. You just spice it up with a little bit of herbs.
Yeah, and I like to actually use the cottage cheese a little bit. You can put cottage cheese as a dip. You can also bake potatoes and put cottage cheese on instead of a sour cream, just to lighten things up and use some of the similar ingredients, like we've been trying to talk about the consolidation here in terms of snacks. And what I would say about home trail mix, go easy on the nuts and the seeds while they're healthy for you. Those are the higher fat components. You don't need a lot to get the flavor in them, and if you want to make it fun, throw in some small more semi-sweet chocolate chips in there, and you'll get a little sweet in there as well. Pre-portioned snacks, and sit a bowl just like this out on your table so that you're more apt to reach for these things than other things that might not be as healthy to eat. So we talked a lot about eating now, Alfredo, and getting healthy, but what else about food? Is there anything fun about meal times these days?
I think you have to make it fun at home. You need to reconnect with your family. You need to get them involved on the meal planning and preparation. Get some ideas, especially if you have young children. If they're part of the preparation or the process of that, most likely they're going to eat all the food on their plate. So just going back and reconnect with them and spend more time with the family.
I like the idea of making activities out of it, because I think, if anything, people are trying to figure out their schedules, and with 3 meals and a bunch of snacks, it really fills up your day, besides maybe a little bit of that running we talked about earlier and a little bit of the extra sleep that's going on. So I think those are all great ideas and things for people to take forward. So I think at this point we can maybe take a few questions from our audience if we have any.
Thank you. I am guilty of buying too much fruit and they're starting to overripe. I heard you suggest freezing them. How can I use the frozen fruits later?
Oh, that's a great idea. So actually the frozen fruits, Alfredo will contest to this because we do this often too, but the frozen fruits are a great way to put into the smoothies because they actually give the consistency, right? Because they're in that, you use them right from the freezer, right into that smoothie, right? It gives it that consistency.
Right. And if you're a baker, you can use it on different pies and things like that too.
Yeah, I agree. You can use it in pies or actually put it into salads. I think we can. Don't think that people often think about how fruits can work into salads. We have some really popular salads with kale and mandarin orange and different things. So I think you can purpose it a bunch of different ways with that frozen fruit as well, or actually drop it on the top of a whole wheat waffle for a snack.
That's right.
I find myself using food to bring me comfort and lost motivation to stay healthy and fit. What other healthy food tips do you have to reset my motivation?
Oh, gosh. I think that we all have to remember that, we're hoping that this is a limited time in our life. And so don't judge every choice you make right now on your foods as to be your last. This is a set time. And I think you need to be a little bit kind with, what you're feeling like on any day or what you're needing. But some of the things that, I know Alfredo and I are familiar with is taking a recipe like a mac and cheese. Simple. And lightening it up. We have, you can put in lower dairy products in that, and you can make that. You can actually even add a little bit of vegetable. We put butternut squash into like a whole grain pasta and whatnot. So you can do that. You can get the comfort that you're looking for, as well as, kind of lower the calories. I think, too, might help people in the morning just set intent for the day in terms of, what their intention is. Try to start with something healthy so you kind of get the day moving in that direction.
Is it safe to order takeout, and how safe is food from other sources?
Oh, that's a really good question. The good news is, there's good news here. The good news is that the virus hasn't been traced to transferring through food. And so I think if, your good food establishments that are still offering the takeout or the curbside pickup, or maybe even you have a delivery service bringing it to you, are still really great options, and maybe it kind of, changes things up for you. So you should feel comfortable about the food being safe, but you should also remember, that you should practice all the safe practices around food. You get it from outside, store it properly, and make sure that you wash your hands and do all of those safety features as well when you're getting that food.
Great. Thank you. This concludes our program. Thank you, Kimberlee. Thank you, Alfredo, for your expertise. And thank you for our viewers for tuning in. The entire broadcast of today's event will be available on our Facebook page later this evening. We look forward to hosting more Facebook Live events in the future. Thank you.